a new age digital bank. Sorry about that. So I'll just resume. So it means that a new kind of bank that doesn't have any physical branch. Yeah, it doesn't have sort of brick and mortar model where you have to go and visit a branch or to give a lot of documents. Someone will come and meet you. So whatever we associate with bank, the word bank, right? That there is an office, there are branches, there are employees, and maybe people sitting in the branches take servicing you. All of that is not applicable, right? A neobank basically is like a tech company. It is like your Uber or Netflix, but it offers all of your banking solutions, products, just from the comfort of your home, from your mobile phone, right? So it is a sort of marriage between the world of banking and the world of technology, right? uh, so neobanks globally have always focused a lot about customer choices, customer preferences, accessibility. They want to be available 24/7. You don't have to wait that this is my hour, banking time, and so weekends I can't do this or that. These are all available 24/7, anytime services. So obviously, this term was coined recently only in 2017, but similar models like neobanking have been there in the past sort of 5 to 10 years. Right? In India, we can think of maybe Paytm, which is more than 10 years old now. It started offering some kind of fintech services, some kind of neobanking, many years ago. We could do a mobile recharge, we could send money to each other from the Paytm app, right? So neobanks choose their target customers, choose their markets very carefully, right? Because they can't solve everything for everyone. Then it becomes very difficult. They can't try and become an SBI or an HDFC bank. So different neobanks have chosen what is their strength area, which customer segment or which problem they want to solve. And all of them try to offer a very simple, transparent, and very exciting and enjoyable experience. Right? They want you to be happy after using their services, after using their product, their mobile app. So the focus is a lot on customer experience and customer delight, and probably going more on that. So if you can see here, it's all about customer experience, right? So neobanks try to be very intuitive, right? They want to know that, okay, what does customer A, customer B, what does Rajdeep like to see on his home screen, which are the tools that he uses very frequently, and maybe they would have those features very prominently displayed. They would customize the landing screen or the different mobile pages according to my choices. The account opening process is actually very smooth, paperless, and instant, right? So nowadays you can see a lot of ads. So Kotak 811 or even ICICI, HDFC Bank, all of them are promoting this instant account opening sitting at your home. You might have seen that ad by Anushka Sharma, right? That she's applying for a loan just while chilling by and reading a book. So all of these things have been pioneered by fintechs, neobanks, that they want the entire experience to be very fast and smooth. Neobanks are very feature rich. They will give you a lot of features that otherwise you will not see in a banking product. Maybe you can see in other technology companies or other apps, but neobanks try to give you those features so that you can have a very enriching experience. The pricing, they want to be very simple and transparent, and usually less costly pricing than traditional banks. And here, maybe going slightly deeper into what are the value propositions or what kind of solutions neobanks have done so far in India, right? We can see that there is a category of for cross-border travel payments. So Neo, my company, sort of pioneered that in India, and globally also there were a lot of neobanks like your Revolut and Monzo, and maybe Niam in Singapore and Southeast Asia. So all of them focused on the cross-border payments. That when you travel abroad, you have to pay forex markup, you have to load foreign currency. So So why don't I give a card and an app that works anywhere in the world? So you can travel anywhere in the world. There is no markup. So it is the cheapest option. You can use it in ATMs anywhere in the world. So that's a very strong sort of customer value proposition that we have. Then we have a lot of SME focused neobanks, both in India and globally also. Right, in India, you may have heard of the names of Bank Open, Khata Book, OK Credit. So many of them are catering to different kind of SMEs or Kirana stores, grocery stores, right? Razor Pay also, for example. So they offer current accounts. They offer a lot of bundled solutions like your bill, tax payment, accounting software, working capital loans, um, different lot of integration with their day-to-day portals like your Tally and other such portals that an SME will use. So all of these are sort of inbuilt into the neo banking solution. The third use case we would talk about here is the salary account. So obviously, salary account you can give for white collar jobs like people like us, or those of you who would go on to work in corporates. So we salary account is a very strong proposition for people like us, and it's also very strong for blue collared workers. So NiYO has this business for blue collared workers. We offer prepaid salary accounts for them. So it's zero balance. It's very easy to use. There is no cost apart from, there is only one charge, let's say, which is a joining fee or an annual fee. And then you can use the card and the app for, using at ATMs, using in POS machines, online transactions. And then for blue collar workers, having a vernacular app is very important. So they can transact in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu, all the vernacular languages. And the fourth one that is sort of getting very popular nowadays is the entire gig economy workers or freelancers. The people who work as say, delivery executives in Amazon, Swiggy, Dunzo, or who are freelance consultants, web designers. So usually banks don't offer them salary accounts. So there is a very strong sort of use case or value proposition to be built for such gig economy workers. So any queries so far? And I'd be happy to take any queries, anything that you noticed and want to have an interaction.
We have a hand raised from Puneet. Puneet, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Thanks, Anjana. Hi, Rajdeep. Very interesting, to know the concept. But there is this one thing that I just wanted to know. What is the differentiator between a new bank and the banks which are now almost providing the same set of services to the customers, realizing that the world is moving to the online world. Secondly, let's say a NiYO versus an ICICI or an SDFC. How does NiYO build its trust capabilities with the new customers, saying that it's a NiYO bank, no bank branches, customer base in India which is used to looking at the physical brick and mortar models. How do we build that trust and say that this is the next big thing? Because all these services which you have just spoken about are now available with the regular banks as well. So just wanted to get your valuable inputs on this.
Sure. I'll try and address that. So the first one is, you were saying that what's the really differentiator? See, the large part of the differentiation really is in the mindset and the way the two set of companies would operate, right? A bank would always be a very large organization with a lot of employees and a lot of departments and a lot of branches, right? They are not reducing their branches. Maybe in some cases, in some markets like UK and Europe, branches are coming down, right? So the entire sort of customer segment that neobanks are after, maybe millennials or youngsters. So banks may not look at them at really a priority segment, right? For bank, there are corporate customers and there are HNI. Then all they have to look at the entire spectrum of customer segments. So that's one in terms of the entire priority or focus itself. Within a bank, maybe a small department which is handling, say, digital banking or fintech may have a solution, right? And they may very well come up with a mobile app with a lot of features also. But from my experience and from talking to a lot of bankers or people on both sides of the table, right? So neobank really scores highly in terms of customer experience, in terms of how smooth the process is. and a lot of innovation. So banks would usually try and copy them, right? But fintechs or startups have been doing this innovation. They have been trying to sort of create a very unbank-like experience, right? Usually banking apps themselves are also boring, right? You don't feel like using them or visiting them every day. Whereas neobanks, they're trying to bring in gamification. They're trying to bring in a lot of features which you find useful. So maybe you'll come to the app sort of very frequently, maybe every day or every week. So banks are not really that engaged with the customers. That's how we can look at things, right? Banks have their own strengths. They're really very strong in risk management, compliance. You feel very secure. The word bankable comes from bank, right? So banking, inherently there is a lot of trust and security that plays on the mind of the customer. So for a neo bank, it is very difficult, challenging, but neo people have done it successfully. That you create the trust and image of security in the mind of the customer. So then maybe you can score over the bank, right? So coming to your second query, in terms of why would a bank trust a neo bank, right? So obviously building a brand is very important. For a very new entrant, it is difficult. So people prefer going with an established bank. Like at the beginning also, when we were promoting, we used to promote very heavily that okay, this is with this partner banks, yes bank or DCB, and now we're live on ICICI also. But as and when neo itself has become a quite a big enough brand, so now we see people trusting us. There is a lot of word of mouth publicity from existing users, right? And we try and sort of focus that the money is kept not with the fintech or not with neo, but with the bank. The money is actually guaranteed by the sort of the in deposit guarantee scheme that RBI has. And then you can look at things that yes bank was a bank, but it also there was a scare last year. So now even in the mind of customer, they're very very careful about where they keep their money with. So building that trust is very critical, right? I can tell that at neo we have a internal dedicated compliance team, information security team. We've done all these ISO audits and whatever is required. And for larger neobanks, others also, it is very critical to build those capabilities, build those teams very similar to a bank, so that the customers feel safe and secure. Does that answer your query? I mean,
Sure. Thanks, Radeep. I mean, my only thought was that, of course, while you as an organization which is very serious into this would invest into a whole lot of compliances and everything else, the customer at the end of the day, should know and feel more secured about the whole thing. And if that is the case, then I think your success is there. If the customer doesn't understand that, then I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So that's what my only thought is, because with all the public sector banks and everything else, like the PMCs of the world, they are crashing in, and the people who are invested in those banks, keeping their savings and everything, they are not able to take money out of it. Neo Bank takes a little bit of a backstage, saying that what is the authenticity of a bank which doesn't even have a bank branch, while you at your end, of course, are making sure that you are compliant with everything else. I'm just talking about the general customer psyche in India and the way we've been brought up is what I was, trying to mention. And
no, you are absolutely correct, and that is one of the big challenges. So it is varies with the age of the customer and the profile of the customer. For younger generations, people who we consider as millennials or Gen Z, so people have grown up, having everything online, having everything on the mobile app. So maybe people are more comfortable. But for the previous generations, it is always challenging to convince them that all the servicing will happen over a phone or over the app. You don't have to actually see a bank branch or see any employee. So that balance is always there.
No, I understand that, Rajiv. Actually, I'm at 46th year of my life, and I've seen the days when there was no ATM, and then the ATMs came in, and then of course now we are talking about neobanks. So I think I've seen the three levels of transition that banking has gone from the
Yes,
time.
yes.
I understand what you're saying. Sure.
Yeah. So you can maybe relate that experience. Like, so when ATM came and maybe internet banking, so there are still a lot of customers feel hesitant about using internet banking. But then it is really the bank or the institution has to convince the customer, has to do it through marketing and handholding the customer. And we try to do all of that, especially for the blue collar workers, because their education levels are also quite low. So for them, it is even more critical that we build that trust. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Thanks.
let's move on in terms of how neobanking has really evolved. I hope my screen is visible, right? So, mm, so the term was coined in 2017, but we can look at true neobanks coming from 2015 itself. So Atom Bank was there in UK, then Revolut and Monzo came around 2018, 2019. We have examples in Australia. We have very large neobanks coming in, even emerging markets. So in Brazil, we have Nubank. We have Neat in Hong Kong. We have Chime, which is a very large neobank. So UK really has been the hub of neobanking revolution, and then slowly it spread to other European countries and then to US also. And the reason for flourishing of neobanks really is regulations to a large extent. So UK had very progressive open API standards and very supportive regulator from early on. So they have actually given full-fledged digital licenses to many neobanks. So be it Revolut, be it Monzo, N26, first UK and then the entire European Central Bank. They have been giving these digital banking licenses. And in the last 1 year, we have seen a lot of Asian market also doing that. So Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Philippines, all of them have given different sort of direct digital licenses. In Singapore, actually, it was a huge race, and all the big names they participated. The likes of Grab and I think Ant Holdings, they've all got their neobanking licenses. In India, we have some sort of that with payment bank licenses, which came about 5 years ago. So Paytm, Airtel, Fino, they have got these payment bank licenses, but it's not really a neobank to be strict. You still need physical branches, and you can only do half of the activities. You can't lend. You can only do payments and deposits. So we're not there yet in terms of what is the best in the world in terms of banking licenses, right? If I talk about the market's size, it is actually very large, and more than large, it is growing at a very high rate, fast pace. So 2019, it was about $27 billion, the market size. I think now it is about 40 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it will grow 10 times in the next 5 years. So that's the kind of growth we are looking at. Truly mind-numbing growth numbers. And around 4 crore customers, current customer base of all the neobanks, so 39-40 million. And we can estimate that 10% of that is actually in India. So about 40 odd lakh customers, all these neobanks put together would have in India. So this is more like a fact sheet. So I didn't go in a lot of details. So as you can see, the leaders globally, many of them you would see in UK, some in Germany, and Nubank in Latin America, not just Brazil, has been pretty successful. Yeah. So customer segment, mix of retail and business. So usually people either start with retail or they start with business, and then they try and enter the other segment. So Revolut, Monzo, they were initially only travel focused card business. Then they went into the current account business, focusing on SMEs. In India also, we have not reached there yet. So we have retail neobanks like we have NiYO or Jupiter Epify, and we have SME focused also like Bank Open or Khata Book. But globally, we have seen some kind of confluence that people try to enter the other market also. If they're retail, they want to go into SME, and if they're SME, they want to build something for retail as well. If you look at the product portfolio of the global leaders, usually there is a very wide coverage. So people over time try to incorporate all the products that they can. So they try and mimic a regular bank. So they may start with a credit card or a prepaid card or a forex card, but eventually they would go into investments, they would go into personal loan, they would go into insurance tie-ups. So all the big names have a very strong product suite, and they try to become the primary account for the customer. So to become a primary customer, you need to have the full suite of products. If you just have a prepaid card or one offering, then obviously you will be limited to only one use case of the customer. So I'll take a pause here because we've covered some details about the product and what's been the trend globally, and happy to take any queries here.
Rashid, I don't think we have any active queries. We can probably move forward and take the questions at the next point.
Sure, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So now we'll look more specifically into India and how things have evolved in India, right? So, I mean, these numbers here are not really that important. What I'm trying to highlight here is that banking is a very large business in India and usually quite profitable. Obviously, in bad economic cycles, banking takes a hit, but otherwise, uh, returns from banking or banking stocks, if you look at likes of HDFC, Kotak, ICICI, they've done very well, and all of them make very consistent profits. But banking is also very challenging in India, right? While there are a lot of success stories, we probably have a very far higher number of failures. A lot of banks have gone bankrupt or have been merged. So recently we have seen how Yes Bank, they were failing and then they had to be merged with SBI, and then um, very recently Lakshmi Vilas Bank, they've been merged with DBS. So a lot of banks have also failed. So it's not a very easy business to be in. It is very capital intensive. Now, if you look at the market share, right, really 3 or 4 banks only dominate. Like SBI probably has 1/4 of the market, then the likes of HDFC, ICICI. And if you take 7, 8 banks, they combined would have 80% of the market. So for new entrants, it becomes challenging. And they don't get licenses also. In the past sort of 10 years, only 2 full-fledged new banks have come, right? Bandhan and IDFC. Here I can touch a little bit upon the differentiated banking licenses. So that is payment banks and small finance bank. So obviously a lot of licenses are given, a lot of payment banks are there, a lot of small banks are there. Payment banks have not been very successful because they're very limited in terms of what they can offer. Small banks have been quite successful, but they are not direct competition, or they're not like neobanks. They are more towards microfinance and rural financing and agri financing. So they require a lot of physical branches and a lot of people, feet on street, sales staff. So more physical distribution rather than a digital business like a neobank. Now, if you look at what has been driving the entire fintech or neobanking growth in India, right? So it's really a lot of support and a lot of infrastructure that has been provided by the government, provided by RBI, and also by different industry bodies like NPCI or Aadhaar, right? So we have a very favorable demographic profile in India, right? India is a very young country. I think more than 50% of us are below the age of 35, and we have, I think, probably the second largest smartphone user base also, right? We have 50 crores smartphone users, like 500 million. Everybody has an Aadhaar card, 1.26 billion. Um, Even wireless mobile subscribers is also a large number, right? I think retail payments, it is growing from 2019-20 to 2021. It grew at 70%. Digital payments, which is roughly about 20% of GDP, right? And then we have a lot of support by the very large banks. So likes of Kotak, ICICI, HDFC, SBI. These 4 or 5 banks have an open API platform now. So all their products are available as APIs that you can integrate as a fintech. And these banks now have realized that they need to partner with fintechs and neobanks, right? In terms of support, we can see different programs, right? Aadhaar is there, Aadhaar eKYC. Then we have IMPS, we have UPI. These are all very innovative solutions that NPCI has done. We have DigiLocker for storing our credentials. We have We have a common standard QR code. That's a very unique thing to have. Very few countries have that. Something like Bharat QR. Then we have all these different programs by the government, like Digital India program, Startup India. We have data.government. So there has been a lot of infrastructure support from the government. Now, on the flip side, if we look at customer satisfaction, so Indians are not very happy with their banking experience. So the India customer satisfaction index is only 69, whereas in US it is 80. So people are not very satisfied with their experience with banks. So they are more than willing to try and experience a fintech solution or a new bank solution. Right. So that's been the backdrop on which this neo banking has really sort of taken off in India in the last 3-4 years. So here we'll look at few examples, some that have been launched. And sorry, is there any question?
Raji? Yeah, this one question from Abhilash. Abhilash, you can ask your question.
Hey, hi Rajdeep, Abhilash here. Being in the same age group as my friend Puneet is, and having worked with a payment bank, which was Aditya Birla Payment Bank, I would like to know how do you differentiate in NiYO? Because ultimately you act like at the moment you don't have an open bank license, so you're working as a DS, kind of a DSA, right? So I
Yes.
was just trying intrigued to know, like, if a payment bank has failed and most of the payment banks are bleeding, I mean, I'm very intrigued to know, you being the strategy guy. I mean, how are you managing your finances in Neo? I mean, have you done your break even, or how do you work? I mean, you're more like a DSA at the moment with banks, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So technically speaking, the agreements with bank work like you are a digital DSA, then you are a program manager, and also a solution provider. So in many cases, the technology solutions is being also provided by the fintech, because fintechs are more tech companies than a banking company. Now, the payment case example is very curious to have, is that fundamentally the balance sheet of payment banks is very imbalanced, right? Because uh, you are trying to gather a lot of CASA deposits from customer, and you're trying to keep your costs very low, but you can't deploy those funds. You have to keep all of that, I think, or at least 75% in government securities. So you're not earning anything. You're probably earning 8% on that, and then you're offering, you have to offer interest rate, and you have to offer, debit card and mobile app and all of that, right? So for payment bank, really, like one or two payment banks that have a lot of customers, like, or at least the example of Paytm, so they have diversified into a lot of other offerings, and then probably that's the way forward to break even or really be profitable, right? Standalone just offering the payment bank solutions isn't even from a strategy point of view, or even from a corporate finance point of view, isn't very attractive, right? So we realized that at NiYO, or in most NiYO banks, and all of them are now trying to build a 360-degree product stack, right? So we have acquired a wealth stack company last year, and we are trying to really integrate the wealth management offerings. So be it mutual fund, or be it domestic stock investing, international stock investing, sending money, sending forex abroad. So we are trying to incorporate all of that. So tax filing, fixed deposits, and in that way we can really make money at every customer. Obviously, we haven't broken even. I don't think any of the neobanks has broken even yet. But it is a far more attractive business model at a unit economic level than, let's say, only a lending company, only a lending fintech, or only a payment fintech. So there it is much difficult compared to a neobank. So that's how we look at things. If a payment bank is able to build an entire suite of products and cater to all the needs of a customer, then I believe it's they should also be do very well, right? But so far the jury is out. I don't see any payment bank that has done that successfully at scale. That they are the primary bank for their customer, and all his needs are being catered to by a payment bank.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Rajdeep. Appreciate your answer.
Sure. Okay. So I'll move forward with some of the examples, and maybe we can revisit that at the end if more people are interested in terms of comparison with the payment bank. Yeah. So I assume most of you are familiar with these names to a certain level, right? So at NiYO, we have three businesses. We have our first business sort of was NiYO Bharat, which still is the leading business. So it is the prepaid payroll card for working class blue collar employees, and we do it through the employer tie-ups, who are mostly SMEs. So SMEs in manufacturing, construction, import export, these kind of sectors, they employ a lot of migrant workers who join and leave, very frequently. So managing their payrolls has really been challenging. So NiYO has come up with this solution that okay, we'll give a prepaid card and then we'll give a corporate portal, web portal to the SME. So this is our largest business, and it is really a distribution-led business. We have pan-India presence. So our first true neo banking offering was the Neo Global Card, which is similar to the offering of Revolut and Monzo in Europe. So zero forex markup travel card that you can use anywhere in the world, more than 150 countries. So it works in partnership with DCB Bank, and you can load money in Indian currency, and you need not worry about the forex conversion. Anywhere in the world, you can swipe it, and we will convert it, and we will not charge any markup. And then we have a lot of value-added features like an ATM locator. We have a forex converter, like it will show the live currency rates. We have lock unlock of the card or resetting the pin instantly. You don't need to call anyone to block a card or get a replacement card. So the entire value proposition is built on ease of use, accessibility, trust, right? And obviously, the recent product that we launched to the IDFC, that's the savings account, where we are offering we were probably the first one, and then recently one or two more neobanks have launched this savings account business. That you get everything, sitting at your home, and the card comes by courier. So we use video KYC and eKYC to open the savings account, and the value proposition is built on seamless user experience, a lot of features. Like we have things like budgeting tool, split bills. We had a wait list running, so that concept is more from how Uber launched in India or OnePlus launched in India. Then we had referral scratch cards, very similar to Google Pay. So all those sort of marketing innovations we did. Now moving on to, okay, so this is Bank Open actually. Bank Open is an SME focused neobank, probably the first one on focusing on SMEs. And they have been very successful in sort of building a product where it is like a SaaS subscription, wherein a lot of these tools that an SME otherwise needs, so be it a payment gateway, be it your accounting and bookkeeping software, GST, invoice payments, or vendor payments, salary payments, so all of these they've incorporated in one stack, and they are charging a subscription fee for that. And then they are asking the customer to open a current account with their partner bank. So that's ICICI. So they have other bank integrations also, but I think the deep integration is only with ICICI and probably IDFC Bank, where they're offering the customer to shift their business, shift the current account to these banks. A couple of more names I'll touch upon here. Obviously, there are a lot of other banks also. So Yellow Finance is in the same space as Neo Bharat. It actually, the founder is a friend of mine in Yellow. So they are also trying to build a digital banking platform focusing on Bharat. So what we call the financially excluded segment. So migrant workers, unskilled, semi-skilled workers. So Yellow has partnered with ICICI Bank, and they're offering the prepaid salary account along with insurance and lending products for these blue collared workers. And obviously Jupiter, many of you must have heard, is Jitendra Gupta's venture, and they are trying to build, so their USP, or they're not launched yet, I think. So they are trying to build a nicer and superior banking experience. So they're really playing on the user experience bit and focusing on youngsters, millennials, students to some extent. So they have partnered with a very big name in bank. I can't name it, and they are probably planning to launch very soon. And similar to Jupiter, there are a few other names. So there is AP5, which is in the similar offering, planning to launch in the next quarter or so. And one or two more neobanks have launched recently. So there is FamPay, and then there is Finin. So both of them are live. They are targeting students and millennial customers. So as of now, if you see the product offering, there is not much difference. Maybe let's say the new IDFC card and the what FamPay is doing or what Finin is doing, you'll see that all of them are trying to go after the younger generation, people in the age group of say 20 to 35, 40, uh, either students or working class people, working class as in corporate employees in metro and tier 1 cities. And the play is a lot on user experience, different features, gamification, giving different rewards. So these are some of the names and quick overview. And I will this section I will probably end with in terms of how we look at NiYO in terms of retail NiYO and more deep dive on NiYO, like my current company, right? So we are trying to build the universal retail NiYO bank, right? So we're trying to focus on all the three segments, right? So there is the mass segment, like working class blue collar employees with income less than $5,000 a year. It is obviously the what people refer to as the bottom of the pyramid. So the largest user base is here, and our USP here is vernacular app, doorstep banking, lot of marketing offers which are relevant for them. So we tied up. This is a Rupee card. So Rupee has a lot of local offers that are relevant for this segment, right? And the pricing is very transparent and honest. So usually these customers they get duped by banks. There's a lot of hidden fees and charges which they don't understand. We're trying to address all of that. Then we have the middle segment, which is the mass affluent or uh, aspirational segment, right? So these are typically people in their first job, second job, or students also, right? So it is also a very large, fairly large segment, 25 million customers, and we are trying to offer the best banking experience and the highest interest rate, and trying to introduce them to the world of investments, like mutual fund investments or savings at a very early stage. So we have 7% interest rate from IDFC. We have zero cost mutual fund and zero forex markup, right? Many of them nowadays, even this millennial segment also are traveling abroad. So the forex card USP works here also. And obviously at the top, we have the NiYO Global Card. So this is for the affluent Indians who travel abroad frequently, right? So 12 million such customers we have. Here, the entire USP is on seamless usage anywhere in the world, bundle credit card, and we are planning to launch a savings account also for these customers. We are offering an USD account wherein people can actually save the money in US dollars and buy foreign stocks like US stocks they can buy sitting in India. You must have seen that in Paytm and Ind Money and even Zerodha. So NiYO also has done the same. So here the entire value proposition is in terms of global usage and global accessibility for the customers. So I'll take a pause here and try and address if there is any query so far on this. Sanjana, is there any query
Uh,
here?
no, Rashdeep, we've not received any queries. So I think we can go forward and then we can address all the queries at the end at once.
Okay, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll try and get into the details of the how the technology works and the product works. So this diagram is actually from a PwC report only, and it really captures the building blocks of this neobank and bank partnership, right? So if you look at the left here, this is the core infrastructure blocks, right? So we have something like a payment gateway which accepts payments usually, right? Then we have uh, different technology blocks that authorizes a transaction, right? Sometimes we refer to them as a card host or a switch. Those of you who are from the technical background would probably appreciate this, right? So banks have something called a card management module or a card host, and then they have a switch that authorizes any card transaction, right? Then there are different modules that monitors the transactions for any fraud or any risk that is happening. So these building blocks are usually provided by the partner bank, right? And the neobank's job is to really do that deep technical integration with the bank, so that these blocks get used by the neobank, right? So at the middle we have the different product modules or channel modules. So we can have a savings account, current account, right? We can have a multi-currency account or a forex card account. Then we have the marketplace wherein a customer wants to get a credit card or wants to get a loan. So he will be able to see the offers, he will be able to apply for the loan and do the onboarding, right? Then there are value added services, right? Let's say invoicing, tax payment, expense management, or bill payment, right? These are all value added modules that come in. So these are typically built by the fintech itself. So fintech can either build in house or they can like employ any vendor and they will build these product modules. And at the right, we have the different customer segments, right? So we can have retail customers, we can have SME also here. So this is a more pictorial representation of the same, right? So if you look at this diagram, what is there in the bottom platform is actually the bank. The bank is providing the interbank settlement, the compliances. It is providing the payment authorization. For a card, it is providing something called BIN. So the card schema or the BIN is actually lying with the bank. And then it is either a Visa, Mastercard, or NPCI BIN. So the bank will sponsor that or rent that, if you want to think like that, to the neobank. So the neobank is using the bank's BIN here. The middle layer is all the different uh, product module, right? So these product modules talk to the bank's infrastructure through APIs. So product modules, we can have savings, we can have loan products, we can have insurance products, we can have investment, we can have all kinds of products that the neobank is building in. And all of these are available on through the app. Now at the top, we have the entire ecosystem. So this is like for a neobank, it is very important to build a partnership model or ecosystem approach and offer a lot of bundle products, right? So I may be a prepaid card player, but I may offer a doctor on call service, or I may offer a attendance tracking service or an expense management service for my SME customers, right? Like for example, Bank Open is offering a payment gateway or it is offering a tax filing service. These are all through partnerships. So this is what you see at the top, all these buildings. So this is like you do go and build an ecosystem. So this is just a highlight of the strategy that has worked in India for neobanks. So first piece is actually to find a partner bank which is willing to do business with you, and which is friendly towards like digital savvy and is easy to work with, because typically bank integrations take a lot of time and a lot of challenges come in. And as we mentioned earlier, we spoke about it. So digital licenses are not available in India. So without getting a partner bank, it is impossible to launch your neobank business in India. So that is a sort of first building block. Next, you have to create a customer experience layer, right? Like all the innovation, the user experience, the design angle, all of this comes here. Because if the experience is the same like a bank, so then the customer will not switch, like, because for this target segments like students or millennials, user experience, design, Use of use is very important, and most of the neobanks are trying to create a differentiation here. And the most critical part is actually to find the right target market, right? It is not universal, right? We don't have a neobank that is able to cater to all segments yet. So there are large pockets of untapped market like SME accounts, salary account for gig economy workers I mentioned, right? So, or maybe a bank account for college students, bank account for teenagers. So these are the different sort of pockets that banks are trying to target. So you really have to find your niche and then build and expand. Couple of more pointers on user experience and simplification, right? Uh, so there have been a lot of surveys that agencies have done in India and abroad that why does a customer want to switch from a bank to a neobank? And large number of customers, they feel that the banks don't understand them well enough, so they build something based on their experience or what they want to build. So they don't take the customer's point of view or their expectations into account. And this is where neobank challenger banks, they better understand the customer, so they build the products according to what the customer wants. So I mean, just for example, Jupiter and even NiYO, we are running a sort of interactive sessions with customers through community. So wherein we are asking the customer to give their ideas and suggestions or product hacks, and the best hacks get selected and get implemented. So we are asking the customer to build their own bank. We are asking that okay, if you are given a blank canvas and you were to build your bank, what it would look like, what products you want, how would you do that? And they are giving those ideas and inputs, and these are getting incorporated. So these are the things that doesn't happen with large institutions or banks, right? And then we have user convenience. So customers want the very same experience. They want the experience of opening a bank to be like ordering something from Amazon or booking a cab on Uber. So they want that kind of experience. They don't want to submit any paper or go and meet any sales staff or any agent. So neobanks are trying to bring that experience level, and they're trying to simplify the processes. So any information you want to change, like you want to change your mobile number, you want to change your address, or you want to you shift it to a new city, so you want to transfer your bank account. So in a bank, these things are very difficult and cumbersome. But in a neobank, they're trying to work with the risk and compliance experts, and they're trying to simplify the processes here. If you look at user acquisition and marketing strategy, right? So the focus is a lot on customer referral, word of mouth publicity, viral marketing. So in a bank, a large amount of marketing budget goes into physical activation campaigns. They will go door to door. They will have some camps. They will have people sitting in a mall, sitting in a tech park, and people are trying and force selling. Or you will have cold callers calling you throughout the day, trying to sell a credit card or a loan. So neobanks or fintechs are not doing that way. So they are spending their money on digital marketing, a lot of Google ads, Facebook ads, lot of targeted campaigns that are run, and obviously a lot of money is spent on customer referral. So things like waitlist or metal cards. So these things have been done very successfully in places like UK, Europe, and Singapore. That you create a waitlist, you give some superior product like a metal card or a premium card to the first 1,000 customers, and then they go and create a buzz in the market. So there's a lot of focus on word of mouth publicity here. So if I had to sort of summarize and highlight that why neobanking is attractive, or why would someone like to switch to a neobank, right? So number one, the addressable market is very huge in India, both in retail and SME, and it is profitable also. So banks or NBFCs that have kept their costs low and that have built a large customer base, they are running very profitably. Now, fundamentally, the neobank's cost structure is much less and is compared to a traditional bank. The number of employees per customer is less. You don't need that many departments. You don't have physical branches. So all of this infrastructure cost is low. This third piece is probably the most critical, that you need the deep know-how of product and technology integration. If the integration of the bank is not perfect, then there will be glitches, the experience will not be optimal, and then people, it is very easy to open a neobank account, and it's very easy to leave also, right? We don't have any exit barriers here. So the experience has to be flawless all the time. And now we have seen neobanking architecture is also being adopted by many large banks. So they are having, they're trying to build, break those barriers and having an open architecture instead of siloed departments that banks usually have. So there is a lot of emphasis, probably the highest emphasis, on user experience, design, uh, greater emphasis on customer experience. And the one of the largest drivers is that everybody has a smartphone and everyone is on high-speed data connections. So that's really works in favor of India as a market compared to, let's say, other emerging markets. In India, the many of the business models that are being tried in India are also being globally proven. So we know that this works. So people are sort of replicating that in India. Obviously, it's not like a direct replication or blind copy and paste. There's a lot of customization or local level modification that's being done. And uh, lastly, the relationship with banks also is fairly constructive, right? So banks may look at neobanks as competition, but they also know that it is beneficial for them to partner. So it is more like we will do win-win and we'll partner with neobanks. We'll try and learn, and then in the future maybe banks will try to build their own neobanking offerings, and then they may not need the fintechs, right? So both are trying to learn from each other and trying to get the best deal for themselves. Some more details in terms of how the strategy and the business model works, and here we're doing a direct comparison with the bank. So if in a bank, everything is around branches, so that is the building block for a branch, and then it rolls up into, let's say, a cluster, or in some cases a region, and then there will be a retail banking division and a corporate banking division and a SME division. So banks are structured like that, all top-down approach. Whereas neobanks are more flat, right? They look at things as a marketplace. So most of the products are not being owned by neobanks. They are trying to build or get product offers from other institutions, like you probably, if you have looked at Cred or Bank Bazaar. So these are marketplaces wherein the products come in from the partner institutions, and the level of engagement is very high with the customer. And there will be a lot of hand holding being given by the neobank for the customer to choose the best product. So the distribution cost is primarily mobile and digital only distribution. So the cost is low. Servicing cost is also low because there's no branch level servicing. If we look at tech infrastructure, so for banks typically have legacy systems. They have core bankings that maybe are 5-10 year old now, so outdated and not modular. So any new innovation takes a lot of time. It creates problems within the bank, and that is why it is also integrate to hard to integrate with other vendors or third-party providers. Whereas neobanks have built everything now, like in the last 1 or 2 years, from scratch. So they have always kept in mind that they need to partner with a lot of banks, partner with a lot of external developers. For them, everything is plug and play, right? So there is no problem of legacy tech systems. Banks look at their business as a product centric. They will say that, okay, how much did my home loan business do, or how much did my credit card business do, right? And their data is sort of mixed. Some of the data is user data is lying in online in different silos, and some of them is actually lying on paper. So different customer forms, different account opening forms. It has a lot of data, but it's not getting captured. So they find it difficult to reconcile. There are huge teams doing reconciliation for customers, or doing servicing for customers. In a neobank, the emphasis is always to capture real-time data and use that data for analytics and driving customer insights. So this is how it is different, right? So in a neobank, they're trying to work like a tech company, like let's say Google or Amazon, and use that data to provide the best offers for the customer, to provide the best user experience for the customer. So since we talked about the business, it's product centric. Even the organization structure or the roles and reporting is also product wise. So every employee, they are focused on getting the best only for their department, their product vertical. So that is why sometimes this cross sell is not very effective in a bank. Whereas in a neobank, the KPIs are built slightly differently, right? The emphasis is a lot more on scores like app score or NPS or product per customer, right? So it is not so much on vertical PNL focus. It's a lot more in terms of customer centric and customer segments. In terms of, okay, one second. The neobanks actually are very cost effective in the steady state because their fixed costs are low, right? So you don't need a lot of physical setup. So your acquisition cost is low. So in Europe and UK, the open bank customer acquisition cost is anywhere from $1 to $38, right? It's still a low number when you compare it to a traditional bank, which is $200. Right. In India also, for a neobank, it is probably around 500 to 1,000 rupees for let's say companies like NiYO. And for a large bank, maybe a Standard Chartered, Citibank, or HDFC, it is at least 2.5 to 3,000. So we're talking about 5x differential here. So the reason I mentioned earlier, it is all the cost is viral marketing and digital cost. So there is no physical or feet on street cost. Likewise, servicing cost is low because it is low touch. We try to minimize the number of calls per customer. We have chat bots and we have self-servicing tools that are there. And neobanks have done a lot of back-end outsourcing, like things that are, have a drag otherwise. They have sort of outsourced it because everything is online and the data is captured real time. It is also easy to outsource many of the activities. And lastly, the price competitiveness. So I would say, if not better price, but at least neobanks are giving the same price. So price meaning say interest rate or fees and charges. So they are very competitive with the bank offerings. So we have covered most of the content. So I would probably take a pause and have any queries here, because after that it is all about looking forward what to expect in the next 5 years, and then we have some the queries that were collated before the end. I'll try and address that. So here, yeah, I can see a hand here. So if you can answer.
Yeah, so we have a hand from Puneet. Puneet, you can go ahead.
Hi, Rajdeep. Sorry again. We were just listening to you and we said that, we are a very cost effective, low cost, provider, which means that, the feet on street kind of costs are not there. Yet we are not making money. So at what point do we break even? What is the total number of customer base that says that, yes, this is the customer base at which the tipping point occurs. And then from here onwards, we are going to be profitable, and the kind of services associated with it, if you can help.
Yeah, sure. So this obviously will vary and depend on the business model. And here at NiYO, since we have 2-3 businesses, we look at all the businesses and their individual break-even points. So for our largest business, the prepaid one, we are already operating break-even level at a gross margin level. So that means that the revenue takes care of the variable cost, right? It's only the sort of allocated cost or the investment that is happening. So our central product teams or marketing teams, that cost is not being catered to. So obviously at a certain scale, and we have seen that the unit costs progressively get lower and lower as we keep on getting higher in terms of numbers. So that is one way of looking at things. And obviously the second part that is sometimes gets overlooked is the level of user activity or number of active users, right? Because all the transactions happen when users are active. So the cost we are incurring is one time, large part of the cost, the acquisition cost, the card kit cost. So once a user exceeds a 3-year lifetime, then we actually recover all the cost from the user. So most of the neobanks are yet to see that because they are fairly new businesses. But as and when the average life of the customer exceeds 3 years, you would see break even at an entire company level itself.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other query here on the business model or revenue profitability?
We don't have any other active queries, Rajdeep. I guess we can move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So now say, sort of moving ahead and what to sort of expect. Obviously, some part, I mean, many things I have not mentioned here, but all of you must have like read in the news or followed that fintech along with edtech probably got the highest number of investments, VC investments last year, and COVID actually turned out like an accelerator for many of the fintech business models or neobanks, right? So the outlook is very promising, right? So the overall bankable population in India is large, 500 to 600 million. We're talking about 60 crore, right? And today the neobank penetration is in single digits. So we don't have not even 1 crore neobank customers. So in the next 4 or 5 years, we expect that at least half of this customer base will have one neobank or the other. So there is one EY report, EY Fintech Adoption Index, and India was the joint highest along with China at I think 87%. So these surveys you need to take with a pinch of salt because these are done for these are not universal surveys. They're done at metro tier 1 locations only. But within that segment, 87% people were willing to open a fintech account, right? Uh, like some kind of fintech they want to use. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, 22% Indians were willing to open a neobank savings account also. So the customer adoption levels will really go up, and we will see a lot of maybe even newer business models emerge. A lot of new companies that will emerge on focusing on different customer segments, and we can expect at least 200 to 50 million customers, so 20-25 crore neobank customers in the next 5 years. So that would be a very large business in itself, right? It will be a right now neobank is still looked upon as a niche, but it will no longer be a niche business in say 5 years. So these are some of the queries that were shared, and I'll try and address that. So how does NiYO plan to expand its customer base who are more used to go brick and mortar? Now, obviously, a large part of our target segments, they are not used to going brick and mortar. So they are younger generation customers or students, so they prefer online. For the older segment of customers or maybe the prepaid card users, NiYO Bharat, we are trying to demonstrate through marketing, user engagement, lot of educational videos that it is as safe as going to a bank branch, and it is much more easy and convenient for you, right? So that's how we're trying to convince the customer, and we have a lot of emphasis in all our marketing messages, communication on the trust and security aspect. So people go to bank branch because either there is no other alternative or they don't trust. Now the no other alternative part we have handled, so that everything they can do in a branch they can do on the app also. And the second part, that is trust and security, we're trying to address that through brand building and marketing initiatives. So second query, do you think open banking services cultivate competition in the banking industry? Obviously, it is. There's no doubt that it is forcing competition. Banks are also trying to incorporate some of the learnings from neobanks. Uh, so in the beginning, banks are looking to partner, and they're using the neobanks as a platform to get new customer segments, to increase their product offering. But side by side, they are also launching their digital banking offerings and direct banking offerings. So we have Axis Bank ASAP. We have, I think, IDFC has launched its neo banking offering. ICICI, HDFC, they both have video banking. Kotak 811 probably is the oldest one among large banks. So all the big banks, they have this neo banking, digital banking offering now. The third query is, because of their totally virtual services, how does neobanking work on gaining customer trust? I think we have spoken about that, right? It is the most challenging aspect for a neobank, and it comes through not one single activity, but by sort of everything you do, right? So uh, sometimes we are forced to have some offices, some physical presence just to build the trust. Then we stress upon this in all our customer communication, that the money is secure, it lies in the partner bank. The money does not lie with NiYO, so NiYO cannot access the customer funds, right? And then all of these certifications that we have done, be it an ISO audit or PCI DSS certification, so these build trust in terms of being secure from data privacy breaches or data leaks and things like that. Fourth one, banking is deeply related to building trust. Why would big banks like SBI opt to partner with an open bank when it can create its own platform? SBI obviously has its own platform, and it doesn't partner with neobanks. But larger banks, they are usually reluctant to give the full ownership and control to a neobank. So many of them are trying to build their own neobanking vertical or team. But they're also finding it difficult and challenging. And tier two banks, slightly smaller banks, we have Yes Bank, DCB, Equitas, SBM. This kind of banks are more than happy to partner with neobanks, because they're getting uh, new customer segments. They are getting CASA deposits, which is very lucrative for a bank. And like, if we take the example of someone like SBM, State Bank of Mauritius, it just launched recently in 1 or 2 years ago. It doesn't have many bank branches. So their strategy is to partner with neobanks and get business through partnerships. Okay, fifth query is that it is, I think, on the break even and profits and losses. So see, neobanks, fundamentally at a business model level, it is very much possible to be profitable. All businesses, startups, their aim is to be profitable, but it will take time. And the unit economics of neobanks are actually not that bad. It is much better when you compare it with other startup sectors. Like if you look at food tech, if you look at e-commerce, compared to those sectors, it is much better and lucrative in a neobank, because you aren't spending much on referral, right? Or you aren't giving some cashback for every transaction. Usually the cost is one time in nature, and there is a clear line of sight for monetization. So every product that you cross sell from a partner bank, from an NBFC, from an insurance company, you will make revenue. So as the customer spends more and more time with the neobank, and he starts using the neobank as a primary account, break even will be there, right? So right now, all the neobanks are struggling with keeping the user base active, like what we call as monthly active users or daily active users. So once people are engaged, they're active, they visit your app frequently, they will transact, or they will avail other services, and then break even will take care of itself. The sixth query is, how has the global pandemic changed your future plans? So how it has changed? Actually, it has accelerated the adoption of neobanking, because people are very reluctant to go and meet anyone. or even at their homes, they were reluctant to invite any bank staff to come and visit them and take the signatures. So people adopted video banking in a large way. They became very comfortable with transacting on cards, and even in cards also, contactless or NFC cards. The adoption has really been high due to the COVID. So this culture of work from home, or contactless payments, online payments, it has really sort of accelerated the adoption of digital banking or neo banking. So these were the queries that were sent to me earlier, and I have tried to address. So any other query or anything you want me to focus further on this?
Yeah, everyone, you can unmute yourself and ask the question if you have any.
Yeah. So anyone has any query, anything they would like to highlight, or happy to discuss that.
I think we're good. I
Okay.
think, yeah. So I think we're good. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rajiv, for this interesting session on neobanking, especially now when neobanking is the buzzword in tech. Yeah, but yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So yeah,
Yeah,
you can write to me here. It's my email ID, and this is our website.
yeah, everyone, you can reach out to Rajdeep in case you have any further queries.
Yeah, be happy to connect with those of you who are sort of fintech enthusiasts or in neo banking would like to keep in touch. Uh,
Yeah, thank you, Rajdeep. Thank you, everyone
okay.
else.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sanjana, for this opportunity.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.